Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where previously, White and Bianca end up having an interesting encounter with a mythological Pokemon. One that ends up with Bianca deciding to give up her Pokedex to White, with her now wanting to be a Pokemon professor, researching and understanding Pokemon, while Black continues on with his training. His final step, defeat Bryson and earn his 7th gym bag. Can he do it? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, it is volume 7/49, almost up to volume 50. We've crossed 500 chapters by now. Nice little cover with Black Iris, Embor, Caracosta. Hopefully I'll have an easier time saying that name than Tortuga. And the Swords of Justice. Three Musketeers reference. I wonder if we'll actually see all three of them. Plus, or if it's just for the cover. Well, let's jump in and find out. We're getting down to the wire on this side of the story. Alright, the Who's That Pokemon for this chapter is Vanillish. It's adventure number 44, The Cold Hard Truth. Ooh. Oh, okay. Is this a flashback? It would have to be. It seems we've cut back to when N first awoken Zekrom. Zekrom glares down at N, and N steps forward and reaches out for Zekrom. Zekrom unleashes an electrical blast against N. One of the girls? I don't remember. Like his sisters? Okay, so Athena and Concordia. And it looks like Concordia calls out, "My king!" Getsus tells her silence. And you mustn't help him either. This is a necessary step in the process whereby our king befriends Zekrom. Only someone who can accomplish that has the right to become a hero. One of the sages says, an ordinary trainer would just order Zekrom to serve him. While another says, whereas this is a selfless act, because N truly wishes to form an alliance to liberate all Pokemon. N, a little singed, continues to step forward towards Zekrom, saying, Zekrom, don't you want to see a world like that? Every trainer in the world will free their Pokemon. People and Pokemon will become equal. No longer will Pokemon be forced to live a life they didn't choose and don't want. You wouldn't have to turn yourself to stone in a world like that, would you? I want to create this world, this future for us all. I want to create this world, this future for us all. In order to do so, I must be undefeatable. I have to be stronger than the champion. Zekrom, I want you to be my friend. Let's change the world together. And says, flanked by several of his friend Pokemon, just like that great hero who was once the leader of our world. But as N continues to approach, Zekrom unleashes yet another blast against him. We cut over to the Isurus City gym. I know what Zekrom's answer is eventually going to be, but still. Dang. Where, ice level. Black is just a slipping and a sliding. Bumps into a wall going, oops. Oh yeah. Slides again. Hits a patch of snow. Looks around saying, I just need to go this way and then that way. Iris, watching from above with Dr. Logan, says, good luck, Black. Black says, thanks. Iris then calls out, I bet you can't wait to fight him. Black says, yep, but right now, I'd rather talk to him than fight him. Iris questions, talk to him about what? Black tells her, you'll have to wait until I get to Bryson to find out. He says, looking to the distance where Bryson lies in wait. Black says, come on, Bo, Musha, Costa, it's time for a gym battle. And just like that, he arrives on the scene. Bryson says, you've arrived. Suddenly, a random announcer comes over the comm system saying, the battle is a 3-on-3 standard battle. Battle start. Black brings out Embor, while Bryson brings out Caragonal, which I actually started playing through the last little bit of the the Crown Tundra that I didn't finish, and I'm just like, oh, I have a Caragonal. Dang, I really don't remember that Pokemon despite catching one. But the Crown Tundra is just filled with so many Pokemon. I'm just throwing Pokeballs this way and that way and catching them. I'm not even thinking about most of them. I had to be like, did I have this? Nope, caught. Did I have this? Yep, dang. Yep, you're done. But regardless, Cragonal disappears. But Embor looks around, listening for the jingling of its chain. Ooh, nice. As Kraganal tries to snag Embor with its chain, Embor manages to easily break it in an instant. Iris says, wow, but Kraganal disappeared. Dr. Logan says, right. However, Black successfully predicted where the ice chain would come from. Embor then goes for a strike, managing to knock Kraganal out just before it reforms. Dang. Instant. The announcer says, Kraganal has fainted. Iris is astonished, saying, Black knew where Kraganal was too? Logan says, that comes from experience, or I guess you could call it battle instinct. You can clearly see the benefit of his form training session. His Embor has realized its potential with his fighting type move. Bryce's only remaining Pokemon are Beartic and Vanillish. On the other hand, Black still has 3 uncompromised Pokemon. Iris thinks to herself, at the moment, Black has the advantage, but he doesn't look too happy. He wanted to talk to Bryson about something earlier. Is that distracting him? Bryson then sends out Vanillish, saying, Vanillish, fight! I love the way he launches his Pokeballs, tosses it up, and then bringing out Vanillish. Oh, Vanillish summons hail. Oh, gotta get buffed by that hailstorm. White says, ow, that's hail. Oh, and then Vanillish disappears, huh? Black brings out his Pokédex, and it reads, Vanillish. Oh, Vanillish. Black says Vanillish has disappeared too. Pokédex reads, Vanillish, the icy snow Pokemon. It conceals itself from enemies' eyes by creating many small ice particles and hiding among them. Black says, it conceals itself from enemy eyes by creating many small ice particles. It's hiding from me, just like Kraganal. Bo, head smash. And I guess Bo manages to realize where it is and goes for it. Dang. Instantly hitting Vanillish. Dr. Logan nods his head. It is Dr. Logan, right? Yeah, Dr. Logan. Dr. Logan says, a direct hit on an invisible opponent. That Embor is improving by the minute. It's grown into the ideal Pokemon. Black overhears this saying, ideal, huh? I met a guy on a bridge who used that word. He wanted me to become the truth, to face the ideal, something like that. Bryson questions, is that what you wanted to ask me about? Black says, yeah, been bugging me for the whole journey. Ever since I left the two-blind bridge to come here. What do you guys want from me? What's all this talk about pitting the truth against the ideal? Bryson doesn't answer, but Iris gets Black's attention, saying, hey, Black, the Vanillish has gotten back up. The Vanillish is hopping around, but Logan tells her, be careful, Iris. You mustn't give him advice during the battle. Iris says, oh, sorry, but why not? Logan tells her, there were 3 purposes behind that hail move. First, to attack the opponent. Second, to hide, and third, to heal. Vanillish's ability is Ice Body. It continues to recover from the damage it received as long as the weather condition is hail. Bryson says, because of that idle chatter of yours, the damage you inflicted upon it with that head smash is all gone to waste. Also look. Oh, what? I figured it would have been too hot to be frozen like that, but I guess because of the hail? Or was it Vanillish's attack? Embor is frozen solid. Black says, Bo's frozen stiff. When did that happen? The announcer says, Embor is unable to continue fighting. Iris says, oh no, Embor is the only fire and fighting type Pokemon that has an advantage against Black's opponent, ice type Pokemon. Black then brings out his Munna, while Bryson questions, is it what Drayden said that's troubling you? How do you expect me to clarify the meaning of his words? Black says, I don't know, Bryson, but since he said it to me, it must have something to do with me, right? And I don't know a thing about it. I don't like that. People are deciding things that concern me behind my back. Ooh. He commands Munna to use Psychic. Black then says, you know what? I felt it all this time, Bryson. That thing you've got hidden up your sleeve. Bryson is shocked, saying, what? Black tells him, it's the same feeling I got when I saw the Darkstone in the basement of the museum. I can't concentrate when people keep secrets from me. Logan questions, why don't you tell him then? Bryson says, Logan. But Logan tells him, find out sooner or later. And if he can sense it already, I don't see the point of hiding it from him. Bryson looks to the light stone in his sleeve, and thinks for a moment. Bryson says, very well. You said you heard Drayden speaking about the ideal and truth. They both stand for legendary dragon-type Pokemon. The ideal of Unova is Zekrom, the black dragon-type Pokemon, who has very likely recently been revived from the Darkstone that the enemy stole. And the truth of Unova, in opposition to the ideal, is Reshiram, the white dragon-type Pokemon, who could potentially revert into its original state from the other stone, the Light Stone. Black says, wait a minute, Bryson. You mean you guys expect me to revive the legendary dragon-type Pokemon from the Light Stone? Is that what all this training has been about? You told me I would face Team Plasma, but I had no idea you meant like that. Bryson puts the stone back in his sleeve, saying, that's Drayden's thinking anyway. Nope. And suddenly Muna is down too. Jeebus. And now he's on the back foot. The announcer says, Muna fainted. Black says, I shouldn't have asked after all. He brings out his Tortuga and unleashes, a hot water attack against Vanellish. Much to Irish's shock, Vanellish faints. Logan says it's a water type attack, but he used Scald. Yep. Ooh, man, Scald is something else. And so, Bryson brings out Beartic. Black has Tortuga use Stone Edge, but Beartic manages to just, weather right through it. Bryson says you're aiming for his claws because that's what Beartic fights with. Black says, of course, my Pokemon and I are really fired up after hearing all this. I can't quite put it into words, but there's something burning deep inside me. Ooh, he's getting fired up. We've each got one Pokemon left. First, I'm going to wrap up this gym battle. Beartic breathes on his claws, creating massive, glacially ice claws. Beartic ain't my favorite Pokemon, but it's kind of cool. Oh, okay. We cut over to meanwhile, in Opelucid City, at Drayden's gym, the Opelucid City gym, the press has gathered outside. They question, what is this press conference for? Why did Mayor Drayden gather so many reporters? And how long are you going to keep us waiting? Mayor Drayden! Mayor Drayden! But then Gerudogon! I love saying that name. If only I enjoyed Gerudogon as much as its name. Gerudogon comes out and roars at the reporters. I bet there's plenty of politicians who wish they could do that. But Drayden exits, saying, sorry to keep you waiting. I asked you here today to make an important announcement. A very important announcement about the next Pokemon League. Normally, the Pokemon League would have been held in 3 months, but due to extenuating circumstances, we have decided to push up the date. After discussing with the Pokemon Association, oh god, no, don't show me his actual mouth. He becomes less cool when I see it. The revelation that is all beard, no mustache. The decision has been made to hold the league in 1 week. Which, Black was fired up before, but man, you better get more fired up now. All of that, and finding out now it's been moved up so much. Jabus. I wonder who Black's final Pokemon it will be. Is it just going to be Reshiram? Because so far, Diamond is the only person to really keep a legendary as one of their main Pokemon, and he can only really bring out Regigigas so often. Oh, Galvantula is at 55 now. Shoot. And Muna is at 54. Considering that it seems like Black isn't really using Braviary anymore, that'll be interesting once it's back on the team. But hey, is he allowed to make a decision like that? I mean, he's only the mayor of one city. Don't tell me he's also the leader of this region's Pokemon Association. He discussed it with the Pokemon Association. I wonder who's the chairman of the league here. Because, oh man, okay, I'm kind of stuck on that. And also his mouth. He'd be so cool if he had a good, interesting mustache too. It's the only thing that makes his look weaker. And White is actually solidly catching up to Black. It's kind of insane. Man, she is going to be a force to be reckoned with once they're around the same level. Will they be around the same level? Guess we'll see. Who's that Pokemon is Beartic for this chapter? And it's Adventure 45, A Cold Reception. The press question, we're pushing up the date of the Pokemon League to 1 week from now? Mayor Drayden, does this have something to do with the missing gym leaders? Drayden questions, missing gym leaders? The reporters say, yes, that's right. Over the past 2 weeks, we received reports from traders who visited Pokemon gyms and learned that the gym leaders were nowhere to be found. Nazarene City, Castelia City, Mombasa City, Driftvale City, Mistralton City, and Striaton City too. Why Striaton? They're not gone. Or we don't know where they are. Does the sudden change in the date of the Pokemon League have anything to do with these mysterious disappearances? Drayden laughs. Drayden mouth. You've done your homework. Well, right. You're right. It has everything to do with that. The press question, why are the gym leaders missing? Where have they gone? Drayden says, I don't know. We have no idea where they are. We're doing everything we can to find them, but we don't have any leads. We probably won't find them if we continue searching blindly. All I can tell you is that we have a grave situation on our hands. And like you said, we too have received worried reports from the trainer about the absence of the gym leaders from their gyms. The press say, that's understandable. The trainers have to earn badges to be allowed to participate in the Pokemon League. They can't win any badges if the gym leaders aren't there. Drayden says, I know. But the Pokemon League standards must be upheld. Therefore, even though we're moving the day forward, we won't be changing the entry requirement. In other words, only trainers who have collected all 8 badges will be able to compete in the Pokemon League that will take place from 1 week from now. That's that. That's a pretty major decision to make. Even the press is shocked. What? You can't be serious. His assistant comes up saying, Mayor Drayden, it's time for your next meeting. Drayden says, thanks. That is all. Go spread the news, he says to the press. The press call out, wait, Mayor! One more question, Mayor Drayden. Mayor Drayden! I'm told that the assistant's name is Kimmy. Oh, they used her Japanese name previously. Okay, Kimmy says the reaction is no surprise. Drayden says, I expected as much. But this is the only way. The only way. We lock up Pokemon inside Pokeballs and force them to fight against their will. Pokemon League is a famous competition for trainers. And to top it off, it draws a huge audience of spectators. Team Plasma's ultimate goal is Pokemon liberation. So those who participate in the Pokemon League and those who watch it are equally culpable in their eyes. Team Plasma won't be able to resist attending and to try and defeat the trainers who control the most powerful Pokemon in the Pokemon League. They're bound to think that would be the perfect way to make a statement and spread their philosophy. Team Plasma will show up, I'm sure of it. A lot of time has passed since they stole the Darkstone. Team Plasma has yet to make a move. Have they managed to turn the Darkstone back into Zekrom yet? We haven't seen them since their act of grand larceny. Did they fail to awaken Zekrom? Or is there another reason for their conspicuous absence? I have to find out for myself. The Pokemon League will be the bait to lure Team Plasma out of hiding. Playing hardball. Kimmy says, you're trying to sound cool and ruthless again, but I know for a fact that you've taken all the necessary precautions to protect the League, participants, and spectators. Drayden says, As he sits at his desk, he questions, by the way, where is Iris? Kimmy says, she's observing the gym battle of that boy, the truth of Unova. The truth of Unova? Huh. Drayden says, you mean he's in Isolar City? Kimmy says, yes. Drayden says, it must be snowing very heavily down there. Cut back to the gym battle between Black and Bryson. I don't know, I was about to say Drayden. You got Beartic with its ice claws. Logan says, Beartic covered its fingers with its freezing breath to great claws of ice. Iris says, what an ingenious way to protect its sore fingers. Beartic goes on the attack. Black says, Costa, protect yourself. And Tortuga does just that, withdrawing inside its shell. Well, somewhat, as the ice claws break against its shell. Black says, that was close. The claws are longer now, so they can reach further, which means the attack will reach me faster. I remember a line about something like that in a movie I saw when I was a kid. Fight Snorlax? No. Maybe it was the return of Snorlax. Bryson listens. Black says, it was a tactic the main character used. Hey, that was your line, wasn't it, Bryson? And then Logan chimes in saying, it's the return of Snorlax, and Bryson was the rival in that one, not the main character to be precise. And by the way, Fight Snorlax was a TV series. Bryson was the main character in that show. And the closing song, Lonely Snorlax, was written by Bryson himself. You know, I questioned Bryson having a personal physician because he's a fanboy. Makes a lot of sense. Bryson interrupts saying, Logan. Black laughs. It's so weird to be having a real Pokemon battle with him, but it's an honor. Bryson says, you're trying to distract me by getting me to reminisce about my old movies. Black says, of course not. I never use a cheap trick like that. I told you, didn't I? There's a fire burning deep inside of me. Bryson then tells Beartic to use superpower, and Beartic starts to struggle to break through Tortuga's defenses. Iris says it's trying to break through by sheer force. Logan says, but it looks like Tortuga's defense is stronger. Black says, that's it, Costa, hang in there. And then Black starts to move, much to Iris's bewilderment. Oh, he's going over to Bryson. Iris says, Black, you have to stay focused on the battle. But Black marches right up to Bryson, much to Bryson's shock. And Black confidently says, hey, Bryson, I accept. I've decided to be the truth of Unova for you guys. Bryson says, what? Black says, I figured it out. And said he was going to become stronger than the champion. And my dream is to win the Pokemon League, which means I have to defeat Alder, the current champion. And that means I'm going to have to become stronger than the champion too. It's like, my goal hasn't really changed all that much. So N and I are aiming for the same thing. If he's Zekrom, then I'll be Reshiram. That way, it'll be a fair match. Maybe it's overconfident, but I'm positive I can defeat Alder. First, though, I've got to defeat N. So come on, hand over that light stone, he says, putting out his hand. Ooh, he got that fire. And out of nowhere, much to Bryson's bewilderment, Beartick falls. Bryson turns, shocked, saying it fended off Beartick's superpower? He tells Beartick to use Focus Blast, and Beartick fires it off. Oh, Tortuga gets hit. Iris says a pinpoint attack right after Beartick lowered its guard. But Black says, you have to hold on, Costa. We can't lose this one. My dream to win the Pokemon League is my dream to win the Pokemon League. I'm going to grow even stronger than the champion. And just like that, Tortuga evolves into Caracosta. Iris says his Pokemon evolved into Caracosta. Logan says, so that was why Tortuga stayed on the defensive, because now it can reach Beartick. Caracosta moves in on Beartick, but as Caracosta swings, Beartick disappears. That's the signature thing for Bryson. Iris is shocked, saying the attack missed. It was perfectly timed, too. Logan says, the Snow Cloak ability. The hailstorm created by Vanillish is still falling, and that's making it easier for Beartick to dodge those attacks. Jeez. I think this is one of the few times someone has really used an environment to their advantage this much. On most, you might be able to get the advantage out with one or two Pokemon, but all of them. Gee. Bryson says, finish off the battle, Beartick. Beartick goes for the strike, hitting Caracosta in the face. Oof. Iris covers her eyes in horror. Logan says the battle is over. The Black is unflinching as Caracosta is lifted off its feet from the strike. Black says, Bryson, thank you so much for all the training. Bryson says, you don't have to thank me. Here, this is the light stone. Take it. Black does just that. Bryson tells him, battle against Team Plasma awaits you, but be forewarned. It might turn out to be a battle that rejects your truth, breaks your heart. Dang. Black says, that's okay. It's a battle I can't avoid if I want to pursue my dream. Bryson gives a nod, saying, that's the spirit. Feel free to come and challenge me again anytime you wish. I'll always be willing to face you to help you achieve your dream of winning the Pokemon League. Black says, what? Then you mean the Pokemon League isn't canceled? Bryson gives a smile, saying, of course not. Both Drayden and I intend to hold the Pokemon League no matter what. Black smiles and says, great. In that case, I will gratefully accept your gym badge. I was waiting for that switch up. Bryson says, excuse me? We turn back to the battle, where Caracosta grabs Beartick's claws, and we see that, man, that's wild. Caracosta stops Beartick's claw attack with its teeth. Well, its jaws, I should say. Doesn't really have teeth. Iris says, what? Black's Pokemon wasn't defeated after all? Logan says, it stopped the attack with its jaw. Black brings up the Pokedex entry on Caracosta, which reads, Caracosta, the proto-turtle Pokemon. Incredible jaw strengths enable them to chew up the steel beams and rocks along with their prey. Steel beams, gee. Makes me think of, Yellow's Rattata/Raticate, chewing things up that it honestly feels like it shouldn't be able to, but still. Black laughs. If its attack kept missing the mark, then the first thing I have to do is catch that Beartick. Ooh. Caracosta crunches down on Beartick's ice claws, breaking through, moving in with a swiftness on Beartick, grabbing it on the face, and oh, jeez. So it grabs his face with one flipper, and then comes in with the other, and just boom, one mighty slam. God damn. It's like those professional slap competition. Almost it looked like it friggin' twisted off Beartick's neck from its head from its neck. The announcer says, Beartick fainted. The challenger Black wins. Black pats Caracosta on the back, saying, way to go, Costa. I guess you can still evolve even if you are an old Pokemon. Caracosta seems nonplussed at the comment. He's got a look of, I'm too old for all this. Black holds up the Lightstone, saying, all right, now you can meet Reshiram again. Oh, right. Huh. Maybe you saw Reshiram turn into the Lightstone way back when. Maybe you'll be the only Pokemon to see it turn back into Reshiram as well. Well, here goes nothing. Everyone watches. Logan swallows hard. Black raises up the Lightstone, saying, Reshiram, the white dragon-type Pokemon and Truth of Unova, show yourself. And nothing happens. Black laughs it all, saying, I guess I can't awaken you just by saying something dramatic. But if Drayden, who's an expert on dragon type, says that Reshiram chose me, then I guess it must have. I suppose you'll turn back into your original state when you're getting ready. Anyway, nice to meet you. Iris is flabbergasted, saying, you certainly are an optimist. Bryson hands over the freeze badge, saying, Black, here's your freeze badge for defeating. Black says yes, and pins it to the inside of his jacket. He shouts, now I've got 7 badges. One more. Just one more. And I'll finally be able to compete in the Pokemon League. My last gym battle is against Drayden Opalipsid City. Already done my research. His Gerudogon's ability is sheer force. And I need to be careful of, he's reading through his little manual thingy, but Iris follows, saying, hey, Black, hold on a minute. Black says, what is it, Iris? Iris says, you can't participate in the Pokemon League. It's too late for you to enter. Black says, what are you talking about? Iris says, come with me. Drayden's on the news. And Black says, Drayden is what? Iris says, just follow me. And they head back, I guess, inside, where I think we have the live broadcast of the speech Drayden just gave, where Drayden says, even though we're moving the date forward, we won't be changing the entry requirement. Only trainers who have collected all 8 badges will be eligible to compete in the Pokemon League. That will take place 1 week from now. Black is utterly shaken, saying, but, no! The Pokemon League has moved up to next week, but still only trainers with 8 badges can participate? Bryson, did you know about this? Bryson says, no. First I've heard of it. Drayden must have made the decision on his own. Which, again, how much sway does Drayden have to be able to make that decision? Black turns to Iris and Logan, saying, Logan, Iris, you have to call Drayden. Logan says, okay, dialing now. Logan shakes his head, saying, it's no use. He isn't answering. Everybody and his uncle must be calling him for an interview. After all, the entire Unova region will be in chaos following its announcement. Black starts to panic a little bit, saying, but what am I supposed to do now? Muna sees Black's, mind, essentially. But it's not really filled with dreams, it's just filled with panic. I can't participate? I'm 1 badge short? Collect all 8 badges to participate. Only have 7 badges. I only needed 1 more badge, but it's too late now. I'm not eligible to... And Muna withdraws. Black grips the Lightstone, saying, I don't get it. What is Drayden thinking? All his talk about the ideal and truth, not to mention Reshiram, it's all meaningless. And he goes to throw the stone. Bryson says, stop it, Black. Iris grabs his arm, saying, he's right, Black. Pull yourself together. All you need to do is impress Drayden so he'll accept you as a contestant. Black says, what could I possibly do to impress him? Iris says, something that makes him think, oh, I'll let him take part in the Pokemon League after all, even if he does only have 7 badges. Like, showing up at the Pokemon League with Reshiram on your team. Black says, how? I don't even know how to get Reshiram out of that stone. Iris says, oh, that's right. Bryson says, Iris has a point, though. Drayden is the kind of man who likes to test people's mettle. If you can't call Reshiram out now, you just have to find some other powerful Pokemon commensurate with Reshiram and use it to impress Drayden. Black says, a powerful Pokemon? Bryson says, right. 3 sacred sword Pokemon who reside in the Unova region. Cobalion, Virizion, and Terrakion, and their pupil, Caldeo. That's always great. It's like, I'm Caldeo. Hey. Walks in like, hey, I'm a Caldeo. Black questions, where do I need to go to capture them? Bryson says, I don't know. Black says, with what? I can't think of anything. So either I call Reshiram out or I capture another super powerful Pokemon in just 1 week. That's impossible. And he runs out into the snow. Oh boy. Or maybe it's not. He's running into legendaries left, right, and center. I mean, it's easier said than done for him to just encounter him like that. And how long ago was that he encountered Virizion? And just to ask him to encounter the other 3 members in a week. And something always throws off the league to some degree. And shoot, with Red, the league just had to just take place because it was the first time he'd ever be involved with it. And Johto, Silver nobody really involved was really looking to actually compete. Hoenn, that wasn't really Sapphire's end goal, which kind of caught me off guard. I would have thought she'd at least want to compete in the league. She wasn't really after that. And for Sinnoh, you think Platinum would have wanted to compete, but he was too busy with other things to do, so you never really had the Sinnoh League in that storyline. So shoot, this will be the first real time since Red that a main protagonist has actually wanted to compete in the league. And of course, something had to go wrong. So I guess we'll see. I mean, there's nobody he really even is out to compete with outside of Charon. And Charon's good, but unless he's really grown strong in the interim, and I know where his story leads to in Black 2 and White 2, but I don't know. Alright, moving on. The Who's That Pokemon for this is a threefer. Cobalion, Tracheon, and Virizion. Feel like I'm switching cell phone providers. Part 1. So, Swords of Justice Way. It's adventures number 46. A week to go and old wounds. Oh, is this a dream? Black stands before the trio, the forces of nature, and Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus all attack. The ground gives way beneath Black's feet, and he falls, only for him to wake up in a cold sweat. Muna attached to his head, definitely eating his dreams, as Black swings in a hammock made from, Galvantula's webs. Again, thank God for you, Galvantula. I wouldn't have any real Pokemon to showcase in any of these videos. I didn't realize that the few Pokemon I actually liked in this series would barely appear. Just like, even with Emolga, it's slim pickings, y'all. I don't hate a lot of the other ones of this generation. It's just, it's mostly just all Unova Pokemon here. None from any other generation. I get it, Unova is about almost as far away from the other regions as you can get, but my goodness. Buck says it was just a nightmare. 3 legendary Pokemon of the Unova region. The Cyclone Pokemon Tornadus, the Abundance Pokemon Landorus, and the Bolt Strike Pokemon Thundurus. Did I call the Cyclone Pokemon Thundurus? No, Tornadus. How weird, dreaming that they were all attacking me at once. I guess it's because I was so surprised that Team Plasma managed to capture all 3 of them. I love Galvantula slowly letting him down out of the hammock. It's adorable. Seriously, Galvantula, oof, after my own heart there, buddy. It's kind of like in Sun and Moon, where I actually ended up really taking a shine to Vikavolt. Like, Vikavolt, I didn't think I'd like its evolutionary line, and yet, oof, Vikavolt ended up becoming like one of my just kind of go-to Pokemon for a while there, up until Tapu Koko. Look, Tapu Koko just dominating. Kinda had to have it on my team. But once I got more and more of the Tapu, I kind of was just like, okay, now you're making me want to just have nothing but a team of Tapu, but I don't want a whole team of Tapu. So, into the PC y'all go. I'm weird like that. Black pauses for a moment and says, I wonder what the boss is doing right now. Should I give her a call? And, sure enough, almost like she knows someone's talking about her, White sneezes. Oh yeah, she's still on the battle subway. My God, is she just farming XP? I guess so. I think this is the first time we've really seen someone just grinding for XP. Ingo says, have you got a cold? You catch more colds during cold weather, you know. And look at what she's wearing. And she at least should be wearing some stockings or something. Emmett says, watch out. They're contagious, you know. White says, maybe someone's just talking about me. They say that makes you sneeze, right? Come on, let's keep training. Ingo says, it looks like she'll be ready to face us soon. Emmett says, yes, at last. I'll get to have a Pokemon battle. Aw, he wants to contact her. Black's finger hovers over his cross transceiver, but he hits himself on the head saying, no, forget it. You're training hard on the battle subway. I don't want to worry her with my problems. Anyhow, now that Team Plasma has gotten hold of such a powerful Pokemon, I need to find a powerful Pokemon of my own. It was only for a second, but I met one before. One of the legendary Pokemon. Iris, just popping out of nowhere, comes up behind saying, oh, which Pokemon? Black looks at his Pokedex saying, I think its name was Brazion. Iris questions, where'd you see it? Black says, in Rumination Field. Rumination? Huh. At Pinwheel Forest? I think that's where Black suddenly realizes who he's talking to and freaks out saying, Iris, where'd you come from? Iris says, where'd I come from? I'm training here too. I'm trying to master Dragon-type Pokemon, you know, just like you. And Black gets on his jacket and stuff saying, yeah, I'm sorry, okay? Huh, she's so noisy and bratty and rude and mumble. Like, what, man? She's not even being mean. Kids. Iris says, hey, what kind of attitude is that? Plus, I brought you some useful information. But if that's how you're gonna be, I won't give it to you. Let's go, Fracture. Black realizes what she said and says, wait, what information, Iris? Iris says, say please. Like siblings. Black says, please tell me, Iris. I just did not get. You know what? It's like actual children. I don't know what beef you have with each other. I don't understand it. I was there and I don't understand how this took place. Iris brings him to a bit of a gorge, saying, if you cross that river, you'll get to a place called Mistralton Cave. That's the lair of a legendary Pokemon. Black says, how do you know all this? Iris says, some guy I met on the way here told me. What was his name again? Oh, yeah, it was Professor whatchamacallit, something like that. Did she meet Cedric? That's the only male professor I could think of. Oh, God, is Black about to encounter Cedric? But Black has already run off into the distance, Iris going, huh? As Black makes his way to the cave, he says, so this is Mistralton Cave. Is there really a legendary Pokemon inside here? Only for Iris's voice to come shouting in, what is your problem? Oh no, not Iris. Uh-oh, who the heck are these people? Oh, they're NPCs from the game. Okay, interesting. So one says, what is your problem? Are you going to do as I tell you or not? The more regular looking girl says, but the rich lady says, I'm tired of your feeble excuses. The plain girl says, the rich girl says, why don't you listen to me? The plain girl goes, the rich girl goes, that does it. I'm going in. And she marches in, looking fabulous with her Heatmore? Yeah. Well, the plain girl yells out to her, Princess. Black questions, what was that all about? He runs over to the more plain-looking girl saying, hey, are you all right? The girl says, who are you? Black says, oh, I didn't mean to startle you. My name's Black. I noticed you two were arguing, so. The girl says, oh, sorry you had to see that. I'm Shoko. People call me Hat Rat Show Shoko. Black says, Hat Rat Show? Shoko says, it's probably easier to just demonstrate. Wait, were any of these Pat Rats a part of White's business? She brings out 4 Pat Rats, saying, one of my Pat Rat holds a mushroom. See, and start the music. She hits a play on the boombox, and the Pat Rat put on a little performance. They shuffle around, zip around, whirl around, and then strike a pose. Shoko says, ta-da! Now, okay, now, which Pat Rat did I hand the mushroom to? Black says, it went that way, then that way, then... And Shoko says, hey, are you alright? So anyway, that's my show. The winner gets to keep the mushroom. I usually perform on Marvelous Bridge. Her princess forced me to come with her today, and Black questions, Princess? You mean the girl who was shouting at you before she flounced off into the cave? Flounced? She's a real princess? Shoko says, oh no, that's just a nickname. She's the daughter of a wealthy family. They spoiled her rotten so she's selfish and carefree like a princess. She's my friend. Some friend. And then you hear the princess shouting from the cave. Black says, was that her crying out just now? Shoko says, I knew it. I told her not to go in there. Black says, that was no ordinary scream. Shoko says, right, I agree. Black grabs her by the hand, saying, come on, let's go and help her. As they make their way in, that's two of the swords of justice just hanging out there. Oh God, did one of them impale her on his horn? Or is that just her clothes? Or is she just hanging on one of their horns? Terrakion. So Virizion and Terrakion. Black says, that's Virizion. And the other one is, Shoko says, that's Virizion. And the other one is, Black says, you're right. And the other legendary Pokemon is Terrakion. A legendary Pokemon really does live in this cave. Iris was telling the truth. Shoko says, but there ought to be another one then. The original inhabitant of this forgotten cave. Black says, but we have to save Princess first. He brings out his Emboar, thinking, if I do this right, I might be able to capture these two and add them to my team. Bow, flamethrower. And Emboar does just that on Virizion. But Virizion just swings his head, using his horn to cut through the fire. Well, dang. I did kind of see a little bit of the Sword of Justice movie. Which one was that? Kyurem and the Sword of Justice. I think I saw a little bit of that. But I didn't really see anything that made me feel like they were impressive. But I gotta say, cutting through fire? Pretty cool. Black says, I can't believe it. It cut right through the fire. Virizion leaps towards them. Black says Virizion's horns are like blades. As it runs, it mows down everything in its path like a whirlwind. But a fast Pokemon. Be careful. Emboar tries his best to pull Black out of harm's way, but Black gets a single cut on his leg. Black says, Magical Leaf. Virizion is a Grass-type Pokemon. That means those Fire-type moves have the advantage. And Emboar ignites its fist. What a cool panel. Again, not my favorite, but y'all make out a pretty good argument for how cool Emboar is. Black says, cover your fist with fire and attack it head on. Despite the fact that Emboar is pretty damn fast, Virizion just keeps cutting through stalagmite after stalactite along the way, getting away. Is it setting up something? But as Emboar moves in and tries to go in with a fiery punch, Terrakion eats the hit. Takes it literally on the chin or cheek, as Virizion is now carrying away the rich lady. What are they up to? Why are they carrying away the woman? Black says, what? It traded places with Terrakion instantly. The combination moves are amazing. And Terrakion just starts running through, bowling over Emboar. And it's all Emboar can do to just get out the way of Terrakion's attack, which blasts a hole through the mountainside. Black says, whoa, he smashed through those rocks and punched holes through them. Shoko says, Terrakion's charge is the strongest of these Pokemon. Black questions, how come you know so much about them? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Why does random lady know so much about legendaries? Shoko says, well, I helped Princess with her research. He was making a huge fuss about how she was going to capture a legendary Pokemon and blah, blah, blah. The princess, who is very much awake and in the grasp of Virizion, she wakes up and then starts to freak out, saying, what is this? Virizion then tosses her. Black says, oh no, and Shoko calls out to her princess. Oh, and now the princess is in the crossfire of the two. Black says Virizion is attacking with Leaf Blade, and Terrakion is attacking with Stone Edge at the same time. You have to dodge it. And as the two attacks come in, Emboar comes in and just eats the hits. Just dang. Why are they so mad at her? My God. Black says, good job, Bo, while Shoko attends to the princess, saying, Princess, what did I tell you? You'll never be able to capture a legendary Pokemon. Let's get out of here. You have a life of luxury. Why must you always put yourself in danger like this? Princess says, silence. Why, you ask? Because of the adventure, the romanticism of it all. He's eccentric. Okay. And at least she isn't as hoity-toity as she seems. I was born into a wealthy family. All my needs are taken care of, except for adventure and romance. There's something no amount of money can buy. True value lies in what you discover for yourself. The path to knowledge and experience that you traverse by your own effort. Platinum? That's just platinum. Whoa. Shoko says, your effort? But you made me help you with all the princess says, I was only trying to share my sense of adventure and romanticism with a poor underprivileged girl like you. Okay, that's a lot less like Platinum. She pushes Shoko back, saying, what fun can it be to perform your pat rat shows on Marvelous Bridge day in and day out? Don't you long to travel beyond your familiar horizons and perform in front of a variety of people? Okay, so this is a tough love situation. Why settle for one thing when you can expand and go beyond? Shoko says, but I'm afraid of what if people will laugh at me or heckle me. The princess says, they might give you a standing ovation. You won't be youthful forever. There's no guarantee that you'll will always be living the good life. You'll never accomplish anything if you just stand still. I, Trish, will show you the true spirit of adventure and romanticism, she says as she brings back out her Heatmore, ready to face off against the two swords of justice. I gotta admit, she has a very mean-spirited way of doing it, but she's got a lot of passion, and her reasoning is very sweet. Her methodology, very mean. Iris runs through the outside with her fracture, and the man calls out, oh, we meet again, Iris. Iris says, oh, Mr. Important-looking professor. And Cedric says, it's Juniper. Don't you ever remember people's names? Iris says, hey, I just told my friend Black that cave you told me about. Cedric says, oh, you're friends with Black? Are you? Where is he? Oh, right. Cedric is probably looking for Black. Iris says he went rushing off to the cave mumbling something about capturing a legendary Pokémon. Cedric says, oh my. I hope he's all right. Iris asks, what do you mean? Cedric explains, legendary Pokémon are powerful opponents. Moreover, Virizion, Terrakion, and Cobalion don't trust people. They're likely to attack Black with all their might. Iris asks, how come they don't trust us? Cedric says, well, it's because long ago the three of them fought an intense battle against some people. Trish says, I have a plan, and here it is. We'll break up their combination. First, I'll slow Virizion down using fire. It doesn't like fire, so it ought to be easy to separate them. Then, if we stay focused, I'll show them. But just as Trish is handing over a torch she had her Heatmore light to Black, they don't notice that Cobalion looms behind them. The swords of justice are not so divided. Alright, in the last chapter of this video, who's that Pokemon? Just like last time, Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion. 2. Adventure 47, a misunderstanding. Oh no, Shoko wasn't handing the torch to Black. He was just ready to rush in with her Heatmore. He goes in shouting, I'll show you. But Cobalion leaps in, bearing down on Shoko, who barely realizes the attack until it's too late. As she ends up hitting the ground, dropping the torches, Trish says, what? As all three swords of justice loom over her. See, they look so friendly, and yet they're like a gang like you rolled up in the wrong cave, rich white lady. Black says, a third Pokemon. Shoko says, it's Cobalion. It's only natural for Cobalion to be here. The guidance chamber is its lair, after all. Okay, so is this an actual place where you can... The Strutton Cave, yeah. Like, do you actually encounter the Swords of Justice here? Oh, special encounter in black and white. No, you specifically encounter Cobalion. And then the others will appear in different places. Terrakion in Victory Road, and Virizion in Pinwheel Forest. So it's kind of like how there were designated places for the legendary birds. Okay. Shoko explains, Virizion awoke at the rumination field and Terrakion awoke at the trial chamber. They must have come here to meet Cobalion. And Cobalion looms over Trish, as well as Black. Black thinks to himself, this Pokemon has such an intense presence. I can't even get near it, much less fight it. But something catches Cobalion's attention. Oh, what the heck? A massive explosion goes off, and it is a big one. Emboar keeps Black and Shoko safe. Heatmore protects Trish, or at least it gets blown back onto Trish, and Cobalion stands in front. Then Terrakion, and while shielding Virizion since, grass. As Emboar shields Shoko and Black, Shoko asks, an explosion? How? Black says, the torch's flames must have ignited something. Oh, is that what they were more concerned about? It was the fire that they were worried about between Heatmore and Emboar. Shoko comes over to Trish saying, Princess, Trish, wake up. You have to get out of here. Trish says, let go of me. The 3 legendary Pokemon are standing right before me, and you're asking me to run off? That's not adventurous, not at all. I'll risk everything to fulfill my goal. That is the romantic spirit. Shoko says, what are you talking about? What if you get hurt? Trish says, you're such a pessimist. But Shoko says, look what you've done. You started a fire. And you're causing everybody so much trouble with your romantic spirit. Trish says, oh, so now you're saying this is all my fault? You started it. the Swords of Justice just see them arguing, and Verizon just shakes his head like humans. Mortys. Black breaks the two up, saying, there's no time to fight, you two. We have to get out of here. He says, Shoko, there are only 3 Patrat here. Shoko says, what? When did she bring out her Patrat, though? Black says, did the other one? And we see that one is still trapped on the other side of the blaze. Shoko screams. Black says, I have to help that poor Patrat. He brings out Caracosta. See, Caracosta is so easy to remember. And I love his instant old man pose. Caracosta sprays water on the blaze, but yeah, it ain't enough. Black says, the fire's way too hot. But Trish knocks him to the side, saying, move aside. My Heatmore won't be deterred by those flames. Come on, let's go. And he pushes her worried Heatmore into the flames. Shoko says, wait, don't do it. Trish says, what? Why are you trying to stop me? Shoko says, you'll only make things worse. Well, Trish just dismisses her, only for them to be bowled over by one of the Swords of Justice. Shockingly enough, Verizon, going to the aid of the Patrat. Black is shocked, saying Verizon. And Verizon, puts Patrat onto its back. Terrakion creates a hole through the cave so that they can escape. Black says, Terrakion, too, he created a way out for us. But Verizon got separated from the others by the fire, only for us to see friggin' Shad Cobelion picking up a boulder with its horns. Black says, now Cobelion is up to something. Cobelion launches up the boulder, gets ready, and when it's set, it jumps in, shatters the boulder. Oh, turning it into like sand almost, putting it over the fire. Oh, okay, that's clever. I wouldn't have even thought of that. Black says, wow, put the fire out by shattering that rock. Verizon and Cobelion with the Patrat make their way out of the exit that Terrakion created. Black says, Shoko, Trish, you two get over here there too. Shoko says, what about you, Black? Black says, Costa and I will stay behind and put out the rest of the flames. Now go. And Trish and Shoko do just that. As they make their way to the exit, Trish and Shoko are overjoyed. Shoko says, there it is, my Patrat. Trish says, oh, I'm so glad it's all right. And then they realize that they've kind of been buddy-buddy with each other and back away. Shoko goes over to her Patrat saying, are you okay? You're not hurt, are you? Only to be stopped by Cobelion, who stands in between her and her Patrat, glaring down at Shoko. It's then that the other swords move in, surrounding Trish and Shoko and their Pokemon. Suddenly in a whirlwind, all of their Pokemon are whisked away. Oh, that kind of goes to show that maybe, did N influence them? Or is this something a conclusion they had already come to? Trish says, what? Oh, Shoko says, what? Trish says, oh my. Shoko says, they're gone. So are all my Patrat. Trish says, my Heatmore too. As Black makes his way out, he says, hey, are you okay? As he sees the two crying, he asks, what's the matter with you two? Shoko says, what's the matter? Trish says, well, this and then that, and then she shrieks. In comes Cedric, saying, I see. Cobelion, Terrakion, and Verizon took your Pokemon away with them. That doesn't come as a surprise. Black says, hey, you're Professor Juniper. Iris pops out, saying, I'm here too. Iris, you're always here, and you're always adorable. Black says, it's such an honor to meet you. I'm Black. I got a Pokédex and an Emboar. I've been your biggest fan ever since I was a little kid. And Cedric says, yes, my daughter has told me all about you. I've been looking forward to meeting you, Black. Black says, wait, how come you said that didn't come as a surprise? Cedric says, well, because those 3 Pokemon consider people the enemy. They've had bad experiences with them in the past. Black shouts, the enemy? Both Shoko and Trish are shocked too. Cedric explains, nowadays people and Pokemon support each other. But in the past, when people were at war with each other, their battles raised the forest and mountains around them. Consequently, They endangered all the Pokemon living there. The warring people didn't care about the welfare of the frightened and wounded Pokemon. They just continued fighting, on. And that was when those three appeared. They rescued the other Pokemon by taking them to a place far away from the conflict, and then they drove away all the people. That's the only thing that finally brought those wars to a stop. But these three legendaries believe Pokemon will always be in danger as long as people are nearby. They must think nothing's changed between people and Pokemon since those days of yore. Black says, oh, and yeah, Shoko and Trish come to the realization, Trish saying, this is all my fault. I lost our Pokemon because I was such a stubborn brat. Shoko calls out to Trish and says, you're not a brat, you always cheer me up. And it's because of you, Trish, that I had the courage to perform my Pat Rat shows. You recognized my talent and took me to the bridge to get a bigger audience. And not for you, Trish says, well, you helped me out too. I was born into a rich family and I've lived a life of leisure, but I've never had a special skill like you. Oh, it almost looks like her butler. Kind of looks like what was his name? The battle Duroc. There we go, Duroc. Her butler almost looks like Duroc. I thought with you as my friend I could accomplish great things. I am only able to live out my romantic dreams of adventure because you're here to support me. Without you, I'm just a pathetic waste of brains. Shoko says, no, you tried to jump into the fire to save my Pat Rat, and I was helpless to do anything. The two then start crying in each other's arms. Black says, Professor, this is the answer. Cedric questions, Black says, we need to explain all this to the three legendaries. Princess and Shoko have stopped fighting and are made up. Black brings out his Muna, and it glomps down on his head. Trish says, what's going on? Shoko calls out to Black. Cedric says, oh, this must be that odd procedure my daughter was talking about. Iris says, yep, odd. Yeah, it is odd. But Black says, I've got it. He looks around saying, slight leaves, broken trees, like what happened to my clothes before. Horizon slices through everything it runs past. All I need to do is follow this trail, and it must be around here somewhere, only for him to come at Horn Point with Cobelion as they ward them off from the Trish and Shoko's Pokemon. Black says, I got a favor to ask you, Cobelion, Verizon, Terrakion. Please return Patrat and Heatmore to these people. I won't drag their Pokemon into a dangerous situation anymore. And they weren't really fighting with each other to begin with. They're friends who care about each other too much. That's why they got into a quarrel in the first place. So yeah, they were fighting in a way, but they weren't really fighting. Anyway, don't you care about Patrat and Heatmore's feelings? What really matters is whether they want to be with Shoko and Trish or not, right? The Patrat and Heatmore talk things over with Verizon and Terrakion, while Shoko and Trish look on worried. The other two confer with Cobelion, and the Patrat and Heatmore are allowed to go back to Shoko and Trish. Black is overjoyed, saying thanks, but suddenly he's picked up by Cobelion. Cobelion looks to his compatriots, and while Terrakion remains stoic, Verizon gives a nod. Black is set down, and then in a whirlwind, the swords disappear. Phew. Okay, then. I wonder, what was Cobelion? I gotta tell you, they felt a lot more intimidating here than in the movie that I saw. Then again, I only saw so much of that movie. But shoo. Like, they're just as easily gonna shank you than help you. Shoko says, thank you so much, Black. Black says, it was nothing. Shoko says, I mustered my courage and kept trying new ideas out in my I'll muster my courage and keep trying new ideas out in my show. Trish says, and also keep supporting Shoko. Maybe you could do other magic tricks with different Pokemon. Shoko says, choose the correct one next time, okay? See you around, Black. Black says, just laughs. Iris says, tee. Hey, didn't you say you were going to capture those three legendary Pokemon? They're gone now, you know. Black realizes that. It says, drat. The narration then reads as the swords of justice race off into the distance. Did the three legendaries understand what Black was telling them? Are they developing a glimmer of trust in people again? Pokemon can't speak to us directly, some of them. What is going on in their minds as they travel across the Unova region? I like to believe that was Cedric's narration. Okay. Yeah, Black and White's Pokemon are starting to kind of even out in terms of their levels. And despite having caught it so early on, Black's Deerling is only so high level. And the majority of her Pokemon are female. Interesting. Except for the Solus. But her highest level Pokemon is the Volibee, and Black's lowest level Pokemon is Tortuga. And they're the same level. So, kind of getting on that even footing. Seeing how that works out. Oh, N's current location is Route 6. Wait, Black and N are around the same location? Uh-oh. Have we seen N on the map before? Uh-oh. I gotta say, the manga tends to just make the Pokemon so much more intimidating. I mean, they can be intimidating in the anime, don't get me wrong, but there's always this air of danger to them in the manga. And they rarely do anything too out of line, though. But man, it just feels like such an overwhelming force so often. But it's like in the movies, very powerful. But once you get into the actual anime, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, they're just really strong. Like, I don't know, there's so much of an air about them that is lost depending on the media you get them in, especially if it's in the games. It's just like, oh, legendary Pokemon, how different is the level between me and them? About 10? Okay, it's whatever. It's all a matter of time before I catch you. But Drayden's power play, I don't know. It does feel like a desperate move, though. He knows that they're up to something. He's trying whatever he can, even as desperate as it might get. But could it be too much? I don't know. Black's fight with Bryson was fun, but it never quite felt like it was as intense as it could be. I feel like a lot of the other gym leaders gave Black a little bit more of a challenge. But then again, the thing is, Bryson had his Pokemon train against Black's, so they knew everything they needed to do against them. I mean, Black was kind of on the ropes, but it never quite felt like that kind of a struggle. And I do just want to chalk that up to Black has already just experienced a lot of what Bryson could really do. But man, the chapters with the Swords of Justice, that was good stuff. It was intense. It was intimidating. You could tell they were constantly assessing things. And the fact that they couldn't directly talk to you really did kind of paint a picture of, okay, what's the next move? What are they going to do? You know, are we cool? Are we all right? Are we good? What are you going to do? Because it really did feel like at any moment they were going to just pop off and run you through. Like, it was just going to be lights out at any moment. This did a lot more of helping me feel like they were legendary Pokemon. You know, from the elements I remember from the movie, they felt more glorified. Like, oh yeah, they're legendary. But here, it was just like, no, these feel like the tough ones, the leaders of the pack, the heads of the forest. You know, they've got the power that no other Pokemon has to really just stick it to the man. It's like rolling up on a friggin' Charizard, Dragonite, and Gyarados just rolling together. It's just like, what you gonna do, man? That's a lot of power just rolling together. But it should be interesting to see what happens next. And the fact that we were shown N's location, that feels ominous. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Also remember to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. And until then, bye-bye.